Right. Hey, hey,
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
good day, and God bless. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk, Real Conversations podcast show with your host, David Newman Jr.
And your co-host Lorena Hopper.
Yes, Lord. And we're so grateful today, and I'm so grateful to have Lorena with me today, and I'm so grateful to have our very special guest, our featured guest today, Miss Michelle Thompson
Thank
of
you.
ResistantVision.com. How you doing, Michelle? Thank you,
I'm
and welcome to the show.
okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Resistant is, let me say it correctly. Resistant vision, right?
Yes, resistant vision.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that. Like, how did it start, and what it does it entail? Because I was reading some of the parts of your bio, and I can go down the line. For those that are listening, I'm gonna just go ahead and talk a little bit about Michelle's bio real quick, if she don't mind.
I don't mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me go. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see something real quick. There we go. Let's see if you can bring it up real quick.
Do you want me to go ahead and talk about how I came to resistant vision while you're doing that, or?
It just give people a rundown real quick. This is for
Okay.
all our listeners out here. Michelle Thompson is the owner and founder of Resistant Vision, academic and legal coach. You matter first. Without you, your work and your career is impossible. So we and she also helps in the legal field, as well as academics who struggle with exhaustion building exhaust build and substantial work. So, that's just a little bit background on Michelle. And Michelle, you can talk about Resistant Vision and tell us
Okay.
like how it started and what made you get into like the legal field. What attracted you to the legal field?
Okay. So it's a long story, but I'll keep it short for this purposes. So my parents were both Jamaican immigrants, and on my mother's
Uh,
side, she was a descendant of Maroons, of slaves who ran away from plantations and fought the British, and they were some of the first free Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So,
uh-huh.
so I so I practiced law for 7 years, and then I
Wow.
had this notion that I had I had this research project bugging me. So the person who became my spouse now said, you could go get a doctorate. And I was like, who, me? Me, okay.
Yeah.
So I went all in, and I earned a doctorate in history. And in history, I my dissertation and the work that I publish actually focuses on the descendants of these communities, not for the communities that my grandmother came from, but the ones in Western Jamaica, not far from Montego Bay. So resistant vision comes about because these communities could have been eliminated before the 20th century, but they weren't. And I was actually interested in why they couldn't get rid of them. Right? You'd think more firepower. You have all the things. Why couldn't you do it? And it was because Maroons had a vision, and their resistance served their vision at
Mm.
all times. And so that is what inspired. And then that's what inspired what I do. I believe very firmly that the women I work with as a coach have a vision, and they need to make sure that their work, which is often very resistant,
Right.
actually is in service of that vision and creating the world that they want. So that's how I come to resistant vision.
When you
Oh,
say
and
that
it's
their
crazy.
work is when you say that their work is resistant, what is it resistant to?
Yeah.
They are committed to
Mhm.
changing. I'll call it the noise. There's a
Okay.
lot of noise. The noise that they see in society. I have one
Okay.
client who works with Native Hawaiian populations, right, and is
Okay.
really committed to making sure that Native Hawaiians have their particular voice.
Hmm.
Um, other clients work on making sure that the work of Latino and Latina artists are prominent, front and
Hmm.
center.
Mhm.
Um, I could go on and on, but like,
Right. Right.
but
Right. I
those
got
are the
you.
kinds of process.
Right.
Those are the kinds of projects that they take on. I have like the lawyer I work with is really committed to animal rights.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Wow,
Gotcha,
that's
gotcha.
amazing. That's
It
amazing.
seems like
You know,
resistance to conformity,
Exactly,
you know.
yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah. It's crazy that you said something about putting their resistance into their products and as far as their businesses and all that, because that's almost something like Lorena had, came about when she became an implementation coach. Like she gathers your ideas, and it's amazing because she gathers your ideas, but then at the same time she implements it in a way where it actually perfects your craft, like your gifts.
Right,
It shows you,
exactly.
and that's amazing, Michelle, that you touched on that, because that's what you're doing and helping these women or whoever you come in contact with and coach. Now
Right,
you
exactly.
you were a professor at one time, right?
I
If
still
I'm
teach part time. I teach in the City
Yeah.
College of New York. I teach at City College of New York, just up
Oh,
the
okay.
road from me. Yeah.
So so what do some of the things you teach your students when it comes to like society and what they want to do as far as like their vision or their as far as like their career choice?
So as a professor, I will say that 2016 was a rough year for me to see the
Okay.
political tide turn in this country in a particular way. And I
Hmm.
would, I'm a very good lecturer, right? Students are engaged and they're like, wow, that's amazing. But lecturing is so much like me taking what's in my brain and like dumping it in your head. And then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the semester, I say, here's the thing that I'm going to evaluate with you with. Just spew back all the things I told you. Okay,
Hmm.
that's fine.
Right.
But I feel like in this day and age, it is more my responsibility to be able to provide students with the tool to do their own research responsibly, not in the
Mm-hmm.
QAnon way, like, but to really seriously and responsibly evaluate the information that's coming their way and making
Mm-hmm.
sense of it. So I've completely up, I completely ripped up the foundations on which I teach. And
Right.
so when I'm teaching students, I teach Caribbean. I teach a Caribbean history survey course. I teach history of the
Okay.
African diaspora, the movement of people
Mm-hmm.
across from the African continent around the world.
Wow,
Women
beautiful.
in the African diaspora, same thing, but focusing on women. And when I'm teaching these courses, I actually have them decide what do you want to learn about this semester. And
Mm-hmm.
now we're going to actually line up. Like I've actually been having them look at a Wikipedia page, for example, and say, what does the Wikipedia page say about your project? Now I want you to go find the work that people who have gone deep into the field, like what do scholars actually say about your topic, right?
Right.
So we actually did a hair unit in women in the African diaspora. People looked at
Mm.
how Black women have studied their hair. And they got to, and because and they, yes, they started with Wikipedia, but because they really dove into the scholarship, they learned about how, for example, hair was used as resistance, right? That women would braid the patterns of plantations on their heads so people could escape,
Right.
right?
I remember that. Yep.
Who knew that, right? But
Yeah.
they talked about that. They talked about the resistance to making sure that Black women aren't losing their jobs because we're
Oh,
wearing natural hair, right? There's a whole
Right.
Natural Hair Act that's passing
Yeah.
in states. It's passed in California. It's passed in New York, right? These
Right.
are the kinds of really pragmatic, what are the political things that we can do to change what we're doing based
Right.
on the particular topic that you want to look at. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how I've been really teaching students. I've been equipping them with the tools to see the information coming their way and actually be able to assess, does that make sense? Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how that goes? That I feel, and which is much more fulfilling for me.
Right.
And I think does a better job of actually setting people up better for jobs for
Yeah.
just living in this really weird
Society.
world that we're in. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would have took courses like that when I was in college. Like literally right before this podcast, I was talking to a gentleman and I was telling him that like the last couple years I have been like transforming into like a whole new person and I'm taking myself out of the conformity that society has placed us in. And I was like, it's so hard to like die to myself every day because that's all that I knew. But now I'm
Right.
having these new sets of morals and values, not to just something I hear, but something I'm living by. And so I have to like counteract everything that I know in every possible way, whether it's social, sexual, spiritual, like, and I have to do what you said, like take what I heard versus what I know from my own personal experiences and research, and then I have to stand firm on this. And I'm like, it's a lot to process, and I am in counseling as I'm going through it all, but it's like I'm literally becoming like a whole nother life, like a whole nother transformation of a person. So
it's true, and it's hard work. It's
and
like,
if I had those
job.
classes earlier on, I felt like I could have did this earlier on, but to each his own.
I wish more people taught the way I did.
Yeah, it's almost like a second childhood in a sense, and it's like you're going like to one journey. It's like you've been on one journey for a minute, and then when you lose loved ones and you start, it's like almost like starting all over again. It's like you're grown up, but so now you're more of you're on your own. You're more of adult in the situation. You don't have all those loved ones that you had before. But see, now it's just like, okay, it's up to you now. Now it's up to you to see, how you're going to carry on. Now it's up to you how God is going to work in your life. But at the same time, it's also up to like your mental mind state. Because a lot of people go from here. They go from the heart, and then they just feel like, okay, I got to get a grip on life, do that, like that. But it's really your mental mind state. And I told Lorraine, I said, I mean, we both have went through that, many times. Like I remember, and I knew Lorena when I lost my grandmother. Right. You know what I'm saying? So prior to that, Lorena was going through it with her father. And so, we both lost people that were prominent in our lives that really, laid the foundation and groundwork. I had two grandmothers, Nancy Newman and Juanita Jones, and both of those grandmothers were, the cream of the crop. That's what I call them, the cream of the crop.
Right.
They told it like it was, but at the same time, they laid the groundwork for the foundation that we stand on. Whether you're Newman, whether you're Jones, or or whatever. But at the same time, those type of teaching, if we would have learned this like way beyond
in college,
years before, in college and high school or something like that, I think life probably would have been a little bit differently at that time, but because we came in an era where we still had our loved ones with us at that time, we were just having a great time just learning new knowledge and learning how to do businesses and different things of that nature, but we wasn't learning how to really like focus on the mental mind state of how we are going to overcome if one of our loved ones go and leave us, and where we at right now. So
that's very, very true. I'll speak to, I know that, like, I mean, one of those times for me was when I decided I wasn't going to do academia full time, right, and I built a business. That's like one of those come to Jesus moments, like, what am I doing? Because I'm not trained for this. I don't know what I'm doing here. Right. But both of my parents, I lost both of my parents last year, and that was another point where it was like
condolences.
Okay, all right. So now you're gonna walk. Now you're walking this journey. It's you.
Yeah,
it's you. Off you pop. Let's figure out how to do it, right? And it's a profound mental. It's a profound moment to keep your mental health and your mental well-being together. And for me, I've noticed that both my mind and my heart have fueled each other. And if my mind, heart, and body, my body, mind, and soul, if you will, fuels it all. If my body is off, the heart's off, the mind's right, it doesn't all come together. It all and I know that from my clients that that mind, body, and soul actually all have to really fuse with each other.
Yeah, and a counselor once told me, psychologist, but she was saying that, here in America, because she's from Africa, she's saying like here in America, we section everything. She was like mental health, physical health. She's like, no, it's just one health. Like you are just
plain
one
old
body.
Health.
She was like
plain old health.
She was like, it shouldn't be sectioned, right? Like how your mind functions, your physical, how your physical impacts your mind. It's just one health, And she was like, it's so much of a gap to try to teach, and counsel and help heal people in America because of that disparity, how things have been programmed over time. And I was like, I was like, man, I wish that like I had all this stuff when I was a kid. I wouldn't have to be trying to wrestle and trying to figure it all out. But it's beautiful to see that everybody is coming to a place of, wholeness, and coming to a place of a firmer foundation than what we've been set on. So I think the transformation across the board is beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
no, absolutely. I know one of the techniques I use as I work with clients is emotional freedom technique. It's more regularly known as tapping, where you actually tap on acupuncture points around your face and
Oh, okay.
torso.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Some people do meditations around it. I help people work on very particular things, but what it helps people do is to come back in their bodies for what they're doing, right? And
Mhm.
your body, that's where you house your heart and your soul, right? Like
Right.
that's it. If you can't connect with that,
Yeah.
the rest of
And
it isn't
and
going to
I
work
think
very
like
well.
here, well, I can speak for myself. I just feel like we have so many distractions, and it's so easy.
Dude.
Like they are right there at our fingertips,
Mhm.
literally, and it's like
This
so
thing,
hard to
I
just
love
right.
it. I will never part with it, but
Yeah, it's so hard to
right?
just like focus and be so firm in your focus and your diligence. And I was telling David before the podcast that I recently started to read the Bible from Genesis, hoping to go all the way to Revelations. I read about 2 or 3 chapters a day, but no matter how many times I've read it, because of course I've read it, I get a new revelation and I get a new, deeper understanding. And I was like, it's so beautiful, but it also allows me to see just how far we are from where God intended us to be, especially I feel like here in America, because although they say we're founded on these Christian beliefs, they are really not prevalent. So I'm like, to like really go back and hit that reset button on what I believe and how I believe it and how firmly I stand on it. It really is taking me to a place of solitude. And then I close the Bible and I have to like not release that solitude, right? I still have to hold on to it and integrate it into everything. So,
Exactly. It's why I meditate. It's why, like, I have an altar on my desk, right? I have candles
okay.
there. Like, and it's like, it's nothing like lighting a candle, just like, taking a moment to pray, to clear the mind,
Yeah.
however people want to do it. I'm a transcendental meditator. I actually sit twice a day
Oh,
for
I know
20
about
minutes
that.
just to meditate, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can't really come to that knowledge
Yeah.
that's really deep in us.
Gotcha.
It's too much chatter and too much noise.
Right.
There's no way you can actually stay the path.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm glad Lorena brought that up about reading the Bible, because it's
Mhm.
amazing that you see some of the characters in the Bible kind of remind you of yourself. But they had drunks, they had prostitutes, they had criminals that were
Exactly.
Everybody.
doing
Exactly.
all kind of antics. And I was like, and I was saying, I was telling me and my pastor was talking yesterday. I said, it's amazing. They talked about Saul and they talked about David and how David ended up finding Christ. And I ain't talking about myself. I'm talking about David in the
Yeah,
Bible.
I know what you're talking about.
Right.
They like, okay, now where he going with this? But I was talk about David and Saul and how Saul was David's son, but then Saul was more of the evil son. Like, he wanted to kill this, and David, had so much sins before that when he found Christ, that he just bared all his burdens and laid everything down, and then that's when David had a change of heart. Now, unfortunately, Saul didn't get that opportunity because Saul was still in that mind frame. So what I'm trying to say is, it goes to show you that even in your lowest times, your worst times, you can lay down your burdens,
Right.
and that's when you feel
Absolutely.
like you're starting to be free.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people bottle so much stuff up, a lot of anger, money situations come involved when family members are fighting against each other. Uh,
Right.
you lose friends when you gain certain things, and it's just it's crazy that society can go like that. But we're in a society that drives off of these things, these temptations, and TV to me presents those temptations because they do sexual stuff. They feed all this stuff, sexual, financial, life insurance, tax issues, and it feeds you all
Yeah.
this, and your mind can get consumed with all this stuff to the point that it can get overwhelming. Like, and you're like, is this what life really all about? But in Tail, life is not all about that. Life is about the amount of choices that we make on a daily basis. Life is about where God is leading us to go. Life is about if you don't believe in God, well, life is about just exploring different avenues that get you to the point of where you want to go.
Right. And to actually just really listen very deeply, like, you have to have the quiet. That's why TV is so hard, right? That's why our phones, like I said, I love my phone, but
Right. We all
on my hands, on my cold dead hands. But it is a device that's very capable of keeping us from, if you're not listening to this, but being able to really listen to yourself and listening to within. People often call it dropping in, to do that quiet work of really listening to what needs to happen, so you can actually steer your way forward.
Right. So, Dr. Thompson, I was looking at your website and I noticed that you got to a place where you were spending more time making less money and you became suicidal. And then you actually looked at your son and you said this would be a terrible legacy for him. I think that generational decision is powerful in itself, to say, for me to cop out on life and not fix it, instead of fixing it, is not a legacy I want to leave behind. And so you said you started to investigate different options. What were some of those options?
What was really hard at that point in my life was, I got my shiny new PhD, and that and $1.25 gets you a New York Times. Yeah.
And should we call you Dr. Michelle Thompson now?
You absolutely can. Yes, that it's appropriate.
Okay.
So I had my shiny PhD, and I'm going to, I live in Manhattan, and I was teaching in Staten Island and in New Jersey, and I don't have a car because I live in Manhattan, and it takes me over an hour each way to commute to these places. And because I'm teaching part-time, I'm not earning much, right? I couldn't make my bills. The student loan bills are coming in, and I'm like, right. It's hard, right? And I had to borrow. Like, I was in a fully funded program, but I had to borrow because I had a young child, and I dare anyone to try to write anything resembling a dissertation with a child sitting in your lap. It doesn't work very well, right? So I had to borrow to make sure that he was taken care of during the day, so I actually could do my work. And that's what it was actually just, and I get it when people are like, you have the bills mounting and you have all these pressures mounting and you don't know what you're going to do. You just don't know what to do. And I was like, if my partner died tomorrow, I'd be homeless, right? And so that was, and I was like, and I've never felt suicidal in my life, but that's what brought about those pressures. And so I kind of, I was like, okay, can't do this to the 8-year-old. That's just janky. So there are two things I thought. Well, there's one thing I thought of initially. I actually love journalism. I was like, okay, I got writing skills. I can research and I can write. That's what lawyers and that's what historians do. I can do these things. Let me see if I can find my way forward in journalism. And I was fortunate. I actually got to intern with a prominent show that airs on NPR. I had a fellowship in journalism with City College of New York. But it was very clear the theme and variations was, you need to earn a master's degree. So you're like, JD, BA, MA, PhD, and I need a master's degree. I don't think so.
Right.
No. So I will step in. And journalism, no. And journalism was actually in the same free fall that academia was in, because I graduated after 2008, and that whole financial
recession and everything.
The recession, everything blew up. So the jobs were not there on the academic job market. So I actually did try to go in the academic job market for a while, and I couldn't secure a full-time position. But I've also been part of a peer counseling organization for years, and I was like, but it's a volunteer thing, and I was like, it'd be really cool if I could use these skills that I have as a volunteer and actually use them to actually support myself. So I had the thought, I went to the bathroom, walked out the bathroom. I checked my email, and there was, I kid you not, in my email box, there was an email that said scholarships for learning how to be a coach.
Mhm.
And I went, wow, this interwebs thing is kind of possible that I actually have a thought, and then there's something in my email box.
Boom.
It looks like something that might fit the bill.
Right.
So I applied for the scholarship. I won it, and I never looked back. I did the coaching program, and I immediately set up shop. I hired my own coach and have been doing it ever since. It's not the only thing I do, but I don't feel that. Oh my gosh, the
Mhm.
sky's falling anymore. And
Gotcha.
that, like, and so it was actually in the exploration of like what are my possibilities that pulled me out of that, right? And
Mhm.
yes, I have a spiritual life that actually helped. That helped to, yes, my peer counseling community was enormously helpful, right? It's I didn't do it by myself,
Right.
and I could really look at other options. Um, and not everyone has that level of I'm well resourced. I will say that I'm very
Definitely.
well resourced, thank God. Right. But I had the kind of resource where I could go, okay, we can turn this around.
Yeah.
we can do something different.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I
So yeah,
think that's definitely a big inspiration to everybody. In the transformation, I realized that we're just setting a firm foundation as our parents and grandparents and ancestors have set for us. We're setting it for the next generations behind
exactly,
us. So for
exactly,
us to go against the grain or to do something different proves to them that this way of life is not a necessity. Like you can step into your calling, your ministry, you can step into your purpose, and
exactly.
you can do it confidently. Like, yes, the grass isn't always green, and you got to water it, and you got to feed it and
Right,
give it
exactly,
nutrients and stuff like that. But
exactly.
it's your purpose. This is what you're here to do. So
And I definitely think every time I sit down with a client, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like I have that thought almost every, like,
yeah,
that was good. That was
it's a
like,
blessing.
yeah,
That's
good. That was good. Mhm.
no,
I always feel like and I love my work because I'm like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that alignment.
Now,
Definitely.
I noticed that you was in the legal field for some
Yeah.
time, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, tell us about legal justice in America, but at the same time, also tell us your views on some of the cases that you've been hearing on TV, from R. Kelly case to the Bill Cosby case, and all these cases that have came about and to the media. But tell us some of the views, because I mean, you hear much on the media end, but you never hear it from a legal standpoint.
Right.
Uh,
Right. So
you know,
I'll start here.
certain things. Yeah.
I'll start here. I always so when I was 12, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to practice law in New York City. I had
Uh,
this whole plan. I wrote in my journal. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to practice law in New York City, and then I'm going to sing opera, and then like I had all the plans. It turns out I've done all of them, but but not quite the way that I thought it was going to be. Right. So I went through college, and anyone who knew me in college was like, oh yeah, she was going to go to law school, and I did. I went to University of Iowa, and I really wanted to do civil rights work, but I couldn't figure out what that would be. So, okay, I'm not a spring chicken. You can tell by the white in my hair. So at the time that I graduated from law school in
uh,
1993, I was trying to figure out like what did that actually mean. And so right before I graduated, the Americans with Disabilities Act passed, which was a major landmark civil rights legislation for people with disabilities.
okay.
And also at the time, people who had been diagnosed HIV positive or had AIDS were up again. And I'm not saying that everything is hunky dory for people who are HIV positive now, no. But
Right.
it was a period where people experienced unbelievable discrimination. That the medical prognosis was not very good for them at the time. And I was like, I think I want to do that. Like that's the civil rights work that I want to do. That's where I want to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually won a fellow. I'm seeing a theme that I keep saying. I want a fellowship to serve people with AIDS in Anacostia in Washington D.C., which I mean now I understand has a Whole Foods, but wasn't so fancy at the time.
Right.
Um, and to actually go and serve people who were HIV positive. And it was a profound experience for me. But it was the work. Some civil rights, some items of civil rights is just making sure that people can do the basic things that they need to do, right? So I often work with people to get disability benefits from Social Security. I remember there was a client I had from the Ivory Coast who needed to get his immigration papers, but the U.S. government said, "Oh no, we're not granting immigration status to anyone with HIV." But there was a waiver.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? That's
Wow.
that was the time. That was the
Yeah.
time. That was the time. And
Wow.
there was actually a waiver process that wasn't public, that my supervisor knew of, and I got the client because I could speak French fluently. So I
Okay.
worked with him to and he got the waiver.
Beautiful.
I say that I'm like, I kind of got a flutter. I'm like, wow, that was amazing work. But he actually got the waiver. That was the work I would do, and that had really clear implications for how people could live their lives. And but while I was working, the place where I worked also organized into a union. And so after my fellowship ended, the union hired me, and I got to work with women who were healthcare workers in the Baltimore and DC area. So I actually would commute between both cities frequently.
Okay.
And I was, so it was me in my late 20s, early 30s, against these huge law firms, that are, I'm working for the labor union, right? They are so well resourced,
Yeah.
right? Negotiating collective bargaining agreements. If someone had told me I'd been doing that, I was going to do that at 15, I would have like, you are lying. There I was preparing for negotiations, like 2-3 times a week, like, and doing the thing. And I was well respected by everybody, but I was working 80 hours a week for $40,000 a year. I never
Right.
quite got that equation right. That's when I got the notion, like, I think I'll go earn a doctorate. But that was the work that I actually did. And I actually got to sit through the contract on America, as I like to call it, as opposed to the contract for America. Right. Like, but it was that time where things were really in another political pivot in the United States. And so I was doing that work up against the federal and state headwinds that were happening. All of that to be said, I think a number of things. There are any number of men who sexually assault women.
Yeah.
All stripes, all religions, all stripes, all races, all class backgrounds, right? Like, that's, unfortunately, we live in a society that seems to think that that's okay. And that it's not okay for women to be able to have full autonomy over their bodies, to be able to say when and how they want to be intimate with another person.
Right.
With that said, it's a society that will target Black men in particular, and that's not to say that I think I've heard enough with other people who've talked to the people who are targeted by R. Kelly, not so much Cosby, but it's not to say that they didn't do it, right? But Black men need to understand that you're going to be targeted here, right? That was the content of slavery. That was the whole content of slavery, that Black men are particularly dangerous in terms of rape, as if slave owners didn't rape people.
Exactly.
Right. But it does mean that the way that the society that we live in is set up now is going to target Black men in a particular way. Keep your pants on. Right? That's it's harsh, but like that's the conclusion I would draw from the R. Kelly and Bill Cosby cases. It doesn't matter how much money you earn, you are going to be a target here, right? There's a reason why Trump could get away with all the things and other people can't. There's a reason for that. That is structural. That's baked into the system, and you have to be really clear about that. Currently,
I mean, because it's amazing. I mean to cut you off, but it's amazing that he came right out during his presidency of an old video that
I was like, yeah, I did it.
Grabbing women's stuff and he was talking about just really cocky about it, like really urgent about it. And I'm sitting up there saying to myself, like, okay, they got one man that's locked up for 2 years already, and he in there because he holding girls against their will and chaining them up and didn't let them eat or whatever they said in that Gayle King interview.
Race and sex are invariably completely connected.
That's why I was really confused about that, because man, You got a black man sitting in there for 2 years. Then you got Cosby, who got convicted for 3, and he ended up getting out anyway. But that's neither here or say. But but then you got Donald Trump talking about he could do whatever he wants to with female.
Right, exactly. And that's the point. The system,
Epstein or whoever this guy is.
Right. The system is set up that way, right? It's like this is the foundation on which the United States was built. This is it. You're watching it play out over and over and over again. And it doesn't mean that something doesn't need to happen with Trump. That's not what I'm saying, right? No, something needs to happen there. That's wrong. It's not okay for people to be able to do this stuff. And it's not the Trumps of the world. It's the people who own law firms and run them, right? It's like, there are any number of women have told me, like, I didn't think I was going to be able to get partner unless I slept with the partner. Was that in your contract? Right. And we're not talking about men of color. We're not talking about, name fill in the blank of whatever we think what rapist looks like. Right. No, we're talking about upright white guys. Right.
Yeah.
And we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to that. And I would say this. Personally, I end up paying a lot of attention to the news about the climate emergency, because we're now officially in the climate emergency. If anyone hasn't noticed, right? I live in
that's evident with the COVID-19.
Right. And I do think that the way that we treat women is the way that we treat the environment. And Mother Earth ain't having any part of us anymore.
That's a strong comparison right there. That is very strong.
Right? We don't get to use it and throw it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it. I'll keep it on that level. Wow. We don't get to use stuff and throw it out. That is actually that's not how we need to work in this world. And what I have found absolutely fascinating, and I don't see much of this coverage, but every single environmental move that the Trump administration made was actually legal and overturned by courts. You don't hear that a lot, but there are people who are doing the environmental legal work, and it's working and it's effective.
Okay.
And we have to pay attention to that. These are not separate issues, right? We cannot use the labor of black and brown people and throw us out anymore, right? We can't use women and throw us out anymore, and we cannot use the earth that feeds us and throw it out anymore. Yeah. Right. It's like, so maybe we'll keep doing what we do with women and people of color. But Mother Earth has a lot to say. I was here for Ida. I'm on high ground in New York City. I saw the flash flood at the corner.
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
Right? Like literally at the corner of where I live, right? This is not some theoretical thing. This was like, oh, look at that. That's not even 10 feet away. Right? Right? Mother Earth is going to have her say.
Yeah.
So we can keep doing this. The earth will continue.
Yeah.
We will not.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers your question on the cases of the day, but
that was right on the keen and right on point, because that, and I'm glad you made those comparisons, because in this society it's like a do or die situation. And I always refer to Will Smith's movie I Am Legend. I feel like in those time zones, and anybody that's seen I Am Legend, I'm not saying that's one of his best films or whatever like that. I'm just saying that where they were talking about and where they were taking the film is that we're getting to the point where we're being extinct. That's what the film was really about.
Yes.
Remember, they had killed everybody. It was just one person, which is Will Smith. He was the doctor, but he had all the remedies for these zombies that were going after him.
Yeah.
And they wanted his formula, but he wasn't giving it up. But what I'm saying is that we're walking on thin ice at this point.
Yeah. Literally, we are walking on thin ice, right? Yeah. Like when you hear that the Arctic is on fire.
No, I haven't heard that one.
I was watching Antarctica on fire, right? Like Antarctic.
The Arctic is north,
right? Yeah. The Arctic is literally on fire. In the Soviet Union, right? Parts of it is in the Arctic Circle. Yeah. There are methane fumes that are coming out of the earth because there isn't snow cover over it. And then in the summers, it's literally on fire.
I have been watching Antarctica, and they were saying that the continent is at a high accelerated rate. All the snow is melting
When we lose
and
glaciers,
it's
we can't get
shifting
them
the
back.
sea level, it's shifting the
Exactly,
chemicals in
exactly,
the air, it's shifting
exactly.
everything, you know,
Like, right, we
because
can't get glaciers back. Once they
right,
melt, they're gone,
right,
right? We can't reduce the sea level rise,
yeah,
right? I mean, I live in New York City. When we're not in Harlem, when we go downtown,
mm-hmm.
we are below sea level,
Hmm.
right? Like, you can't
Yeah,
take back the sea level rise. Like, you
yeah,
can't do it is what it is.
right,
These are irreversible changes.
yeah,
You
it's a
you
lot.
you mentioned about civil rights and and like the last year or the year before that, Black Lives Matter, the movement really like was really taking off at a particular time. And now with when we had passings of Mike Brown, passings of Trayvon Martin, and many
Mm-hmm.
that have went on to be with the Lord, like Breonna Taylor and all that. Tell us your views on why it was so powerful to really get these voices heard all of a sudden now since George
Mhm.
Floyd had passed and when he passed it was just like to the point it just needed to stop after
Absolutely.
after
Well,
a
I
while.
think one of the things that's important
Yeah,
about Black Lives Matter is that it points to the historical
Cycle.
cycle that this occurs in, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like this isn't. So many people are like, "Oh my goodness, blah blah blah," and it's like, "Yo, this is like that police forces were created for the purposes of keeping the enslaved on plantations."
Yes.
Right, that was the entire purpose of a police force. Do
Yeah.
you actually think we've kind of worked out that kind of
Kink.
premise? No, we haven't, right? So you see members. So the Klan didn't form until the late 19th, early 20th century. It's not something that's always been with us in this country, right? But it formed in response to the end of slavery,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you start to see Klan members make their way into the police force, and then
Right.
you have governments that are completely like totally down with lynching Black people, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the government's literally doing this work, right? These are not new things. Um, and what Black Lives Matter is capable what does is it says we're doing it again. We're doing it again. See, we're doing it again. We've done this
Mm-hmm.
before. We're doing it again now, right?
Right.
I think that's really really important. And I think also that what most of us haven't done, if you go to the Black Lives Matter website, their
yeah,
platform is far bigger than just,
Okay.
I'm not saying just police. I don't want to say it that way, right? It encompasses creating a society that would really stop police killings, that would make sure that people are fed, that would make sure that they actually have an environmental platform, that would make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the educational system is tight, right? It is a platform to really sustain Black communities. It's not just resistance, it's
Right.
vision. And Black Lives Matter is about vision, and and the resistance that you see serves that vision. But people
Yeah.
actually don't look very carefully at their platform
Mm-hmm.
and see what they're about. This is why Black Lives Matter is so threatening to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot. I think the people that you don't necessarily want to pay attention to it do pay attention to it, and they
Mm-hmm.
know that they're really about creating a society that really sustains Black communities. But if we're
Right.
sustaining Black communities, that means that you can't pay Black labor little or nothing. You can't pay
Yeah.
Latino labor little or nothing. You can't pay women labor little or nothing, right? And so their platform is so much bigger than that. And
Yeah.
the killings of Black people by the police force is the tip of that arrow.
Mm.
yeah, and that's exactly that's exactly what I was explaining to when I was mentioning about should jobs like whether you're working at Amazon, whether you're working at Target or just different platforms of different stores of retail or anything, should there be a union where to the point
Hell yeah. I'm sorry, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
but that they finally get paid what they deserve.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can put in
Exactly.
so much labor, but at the same time, I mean, when you getting paid little next to nothing, you're sitting up there like, man, something is just not adding up. I'm putting in, I'm
Yeah.
putting in the hours, I'm putting in the time, I'm, blood, sweat, and tears. Where, where is my equality in this situation?
Exactly. And, so, and the situation's not designed to make sure that we have, like, this is
exactly.
I mean,
that's
my
the real
scholarship focuses on
problem
the
right
post-emancipation world, right?
Yeah.
The whole problem with slavery is like, wait, now we have to pay people,
right?
That is the on the planter end. This is the problem with emancipation. Like, well, I would just prefer just having these people work until they die and I replace them. What's up with this? Now you want me to pay them? That eats into my profits, right? And if capitalism is built on the backs of profits, and profits that can only be earned by keeping labor costs as low as possible, we've got a problem.
Yeah, it's the lack of human life. And I'm one person that loves to travel. I've been probably almost everywhere in the world, right? And I like to travel because I always say in other cultures, like their morals and values are just, their appreciation for life is just different. And it's always hard for me to explain it to Americans, right? And like I try to, it's hard for me to even embrace. Like my fiance is from Trinidad, and his appreciation for life is drastically different than mine. So we don't necessarily argue about it every day, but it does come up prevalently, and I'm like, you're so good at just love, like at its natural form, and I'm like, I'm so far away from that. Like I see it and I can recognize it.
We're trained to do.
I can't even begin
Other people
to like
are trained to be, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
He can
say that one more time.
He can be. We're trained to do, right? Like in capitalism, you have to do. Right? He's trained to just be.
Yeah,
and that's a very different energy.
It is,
and it's a different. It's one that I'm trying to learn and like.
Yeah, so I tell him, I'm like, I see it and I understand it, but walking towards it really takes a transformation, like not even just a natural transformation. It's almost supernatural. It's like generational curses and all type of evil wickedness and all type of everything. Like I have to reject the society I live in. You know what I'm saying? The foundations of this country I have to reject. And it's all I know. It's all I've known for generations. Like it's ingrained in me. So I'm like, I'm trying, but I don't really even know how to start. You know what I'm saying? So it's
now, Dr. Michelle and Lorena, you talking about your fiance. I think the upbringing of where they come from. I'm talking about Trinidad, and I'm talking about those countries, even Haiti and all those. When they come up, they don't have a lot when they come up. You know what I'm saying? So they're forced to be adults at an early age at times, and so when it comes to like relationships, when it comes to like their jobs and stuff like that, their mindset and mentality is very different from ours. Is because they have learned that they had they had to work for a lot of stuff. They didn't have it easy. They quote unquote like Americans have, in a sense of like we have so much amenities for us to to live off, and we just are in the sense of spoiled. And the fact of have all these things that we can do, like catch the train, catch the buses, have cars, have certain like houses or apartments, and they don't come from that. You know what I'm saying? Their countries, they might have shacks or tents or something like that. But even though they had little next to nothing, their appreciation for life, their appreciation for love, their appreciation for their foundation and their heritage, they take that with them and they take it as a grain of salt. And
there's one other thing that they have, like in the Caribbean, there's one other thing that we don't have in the United States, and that they live in predominantly Black countries. Now, I'm not saying
that's a huge one.
But like when it's fascinating when I go to Jamaica. I walk off I get out of the airport. Actually, no, you walk through the airport, you see the advertisements, and you're like, oh, there ain't any y'all ain't white, right? It's like you don't have white supremacy jammed down your throat in the way.
Even how they have Black people on their currency, like in Africa, stuff like that. And it's just like, y'all don't even know what oppression, white oppression
they do, because they've had these colonial relationships with Europe. They're very clear about that. But they don't have white supremacy jammed down their throats.
No,
In
they
this
don't.
country, we're told like you can't do it without white people. You just can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You're gonna. That's fine now. You're not
Yeah.
fine, right? Like there's all the noise. That's so much of the noise that we're
Yeah.
actually up against all the time, and that's not so much the case. My mom came to this country in 1967.
Okay.
Both my parents actually did, right?
Okay.
And she was puzzled because she was in Jamaica and then she went to
Okay.
England to get her to earn her credentials to be a nurse. And she's like, I didn't get the sitting on the back of the bus thing. Right?
Yeah.
And literally, it just literally
You
right?
know, one thing that I say that foreigners don't understand when they come into this country is that we because they don't understand it, it still doesn't mean that we didn't go through it. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
exactly.
Like, and
And
we are
it's
living
a
results
gulf.
of it. And so they're like, oh, but you guys have so much opportunity. And I'm like, yes, but you guys have people always say, oh, I came to this country with nothing. And I'm like, that's not true. You came here with culture, a strong values, strong standards, strong morals. You came here with drive and ambition, all the stuff that we've been programmed and dismantled with, so I'm like, you didn't come here with nothing. That's just not true. You know, and I'm like, I want to bridge the gap between us because I feel like there's so much wisdom that they should be giving us instead of saying, oh, we come here and we don't fit into the African American community and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but we are so broken in this community that y'all should be coming here educating us and uplifting us and trying to get us on board, because we
remember,
understand
it's
why do you
designed
think
to
we're
pit.
fighting?
But the U.S. is designed to pit these communities together. Like that's like we spend a lot of time pitting. Oh, they work better. They do that better. I don't think guys. Why y'all so lazy? Right. Like that's those are the grumblings that happen that are designed to keep us completely separated, right? Because you can't have everybody doing what Africans and West Indians are doing, right? Otherwise, where's your labor force?
Yeah.
Right. That's the brutal.
That's the time.
I mean, I'm in the capitalist system. I'm doing my best in it, right? But that is actually the brutal underbelly of capitalism. And I think, and I do also think that that's part of what, Black Lives Matter, there's the Black, Red, and Green movement. That's an environmental movement, right? All of these movements are starting to say you can't keep going on and exploiting land and exploiting labor like this. We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
We're out. We're out.
Now I was looking at certain things on the news the other day, and tell me what are some of your views about capital punishment. I mean, do you feel like
don't do it? Just don't do it.
Like in certain countries, they take it. I mean, certain states they take it a little bit too far.
I just don't think. I just think it's a bad policy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like there are underlying problems. There are people get hurt in profound ways if they're murdering people in particular ways, right? That's hurt, and we're not actually, we're actually not doing the work of healing people if we end up having to kill them. Because it's just like, so why don't we just we are all going to be so much richer if we actually could give people the resource they need to heal themselves, as opposed to like killing them after they kill people. Like that's a bad use of state resources.
And it's that lack of appreciation of human life again.
Exactly. How are you pro-life?
It all circles back down to that.
It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and one thing that helps me to kind of embrace that concept of love and human life is that I look at how I treat my best friends. And, I say, okay, so what makes them different than any other human in this world? We all deserve that grace. We all deserve that patience. We all deserve to be thought of in a way to say, I may not be able to relate to what you're going through, but I want to help you find whoever it is you need, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a job, whether, it is what it is. And so regardless of if somebody kills somebody murders somebody, it's like, okay, I still want to be here. I want to pray with you. I want to help you find what it is that you need, because I don't believe that that's who you were born to be,
Exactly.
So that healing and that appreciation for life, that's one thing that helps me to kind of embrace that more and more, is to look at the people that I love, and regardless of their circumstance, I would help. So I try to treat everybody like that, And
Exactly.
I stop, and I say, okay, if this was my male best friend, what would I say to him? Because
Right.
it's different, versus
Right.
somebody that's just disrespecting you out on the street versus somebody you love that disrespected you. You handle them differently. And
Exactly.
so I try to take that and expand it. So you're definitely right. I love your movement, resistant vision.
Thank you.
I'm gonna spread it with everybody for sure.
Thank you. Oh, very much
And
appreciated.
I'm also one of those people that haven't looked into Black Lives Matter, so I'm gonna definitely take a look at their
Dear,
website and look into that
yeah.
initiative.
Absolutely.
It's important that we do pay attention to Black Lives Matter. It's important that we know our rights as well, and
Exactly.
really stand up on the platform and the foundation that our ancestors have built and our heritage has built. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we do have a voice. We do matter, and if we don't use our voice and use our platforms to explore those type of issues, then these issues will continue to plague on for years to come. We
Right.
don't want to go back to the ages of the dogs and the water hoses and all that no more. We're tired of it. We been down long enough. So now it's time to rise up, have a voice, and really stand up on our own and make sure that we make things better for society and the next generation coming behind us. Because it is the next
Absolutely.
generation. Whether we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
kids, we got a lot of brothers and sisters. We got a lot of people that are
Exactly.
up. So yeah.
Exactly.
Resistant Vision, we definitely going to make sure that we continue to promote it. Make sure you
you.
check out her website, resistantvision.com. Dr. Michelle Thompson, thank you so much for
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. What a lovely show.
yeah, we and also I want to make sure we make it publicly known, and real talk real conversation wants to congratulate my co-host Lorena Harper, aka the co-founder of Real Talk Real Conversation, on her engagement. She
Thank
does.
you.
Beyonce, we're so happy for you. We continue to pray for both of y'all each and every day. And it's so great to see her happy at this moment in her life. And you can see the glow, right on her face. So I'm just happy just to even be called her friend and her business partner. So I'm happy
Yeah.
about that. Also, I want to put this out there too. Oh, excuse me, my mic fell down. I'm lunching. But Jasmine Lewis, the actor from Barbershop 1 and 2, the wife of Ice Cube. I'm wearing her shirt. As I don't know if y'all can see, but I'm
Yeah,
wearing
you can see it.
her. Yeah, I'm wearing one of her shirts, a T-shirt that I got made because she's my favorite actress.
Okay. Shout out to the Black community. We love it, Jasmine Lewis.
And on the shirt it says Jasmine Lewis. I'm her number one. It says I'm my favorite actress #1 fan, and I am truly. I love her work. A lot of people love Halle Berry, Robin Givens, and all that, but I'm a firm believer that those women have had their success in movies and have been well known. But Jasmine Lewis, her work speaks for itself. I think she's at a level in her career and her film career where, even in TV, in her TV shows that she does. I mean, and I feel like she needs more recognition. We need to give people their, flowers while they're here. Like Dr. Michelle
Yeah.
Thompson, give you your flowers while you're here.
Well, thank you.
Definitely.
Yes, appreciate it.
Lorena Harper, her flowers while she's here,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
and so on and so forth. And we
Yeah.
definitely respect. Also, Lorena's book. Make sure you pick up a copy of this, Dr. Michelle Thompson, as
I
well.
will.
There we
And
go.
since you're an author and Lorena's, go to lorenaharper.com. You can pick up a hard copy of the book. It's called Love Me, How I'm Promoting this book. I have read this book. I've been reading it even at my own break at my job. I put down the phone because normally I'm on, different things on my break, just checking everything else. But I love reading this book because it tells you a whole lot, not just about Lorena as life, but it tells you about her experience and what she has seen in her life at just even tender age in her 30s. So, that's a blessing in itself. So we once again, we thank Dr. Michelle Thompson and also
Yes,
Lorena.
thank you.
Thank
Reach
you
out.
all.
Say that one more time.
Oh yeah, you want to tell them where they can reach us?
Oh, of course. You can reach us on YouTube at Real Talk Real Conversations, Facebook. We have a Facebook group. We have a community of people that follow us and that tap in and participate with us all the time. That's Real Talk Real Conversations, and our Instagram as well, Real Talk Real Conversations.
Yeah, man. And make sure y'all, definitely keep it locked. We got new episodes coming as well. And then we just thank you once again, Dr. Michelle Thompson. And for all
Thank
those
you.
out make sure that also, yeah, I want to make sure I let everybody know that my uncle DJ B Funk and Johnny Teller Jr., the son of John, the legendary singer Johnny Teller, have a concert coming up in mid November, which is after Thanksgiving. So make sure you come out and support that. I'm sure I promote it on Real Talk Real Conversation Facebook group, as well as shout out to my jeweler Ike. He had made this piece. I told him I was going to promote him. I went to go see him yesterday. He's doing very well. His health wise, he had health issues. He had symptoms of COVID, but when I seen him, he's doing very well right now. He's and I've been praying for him and praying for his family as well. So make sure we all keep him in prayer as well. But at the same time, Lorena, thank you once again for taking time out. I know you've been busy, what I'm saying? So,
Crazy busy, but it's all good. I actually, when you promoted my book, I'm horrible at marketing, but and so I thank David for doing that. But I just read my book yesterday all over again, because when I'm at a space where I feel like it's just a lot going on, I read the book and the experiences and the lessons that I've already learned, and I'm writing book 2, so no telling when it's gonna come out, but it's in the works for sure.
I'm excited for all of it. I can't
Make
wait.
sure y'all check out resistantvision.com though. That's what we need to be focused on 100%. We appreciate you, Dr. Michelle Thompson. It has been an honor and a pleasure to have you as our guest. Definitely an episode that I'm gonna rewatch today. So
yeah,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We thankful. We thankful for you. And wait, like I said, once again, resistantvision.com. Go there, check out Dr. Michelle Thompson, see her work and see what she's been doing, and see how you can for those that want to be, down with her and become her client, hit her up, And but it's been a great night, a great day so far this morning and on into the early afternoon. So we want to thank our Facebook viewers as well as our YouTube viewers. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure that y'all, we're trying to get these numbers up. So make sure y'all definitely pay attention to all the episodes of Real Talk, Real Conversation podcast show. I'm David Newman Jr. and my co-host
Lorena Harper.
Yeah, we want to say God bless y'all. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe and remember, keep God first in everything that you do.